and healing within reach for vulnerable populations, one neighborhood at a time. And the foundation, we are one of the philanthropic arms of the Health Partners Plans, your state-funded health insurance organization providing Medicare, Medicaid, and CHIP to over 280,000 members across 13 counties. And we want to be your provider as well. You know, October is going to be Medicare open enrollment, October the 15th through December the 7th. And so if you have any questions about Medicare, feel free to give us a call at 866-901-8000. That's 866-901-8000. And so let's give a shout out to producer extraordinaire Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Listen, we didn't lose today, okay? You see I have my Eagles gear on. I will take the tie over a loss, okay?
I'll take it. Yeah,
so I'm
I'll
happy.
run with it.
I'm happy.
That's better.
Right?
That's better.
We didn't play great though.
We didn't.
I don't know what's going on with Wentz.
Out throwing everybody except the defense.
Listen, he's breaking my heart. 2 interceptions today. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
He's playing scared.
He needs to call me.
It's something going on mentally. He's playing like super scared.
You know what it is? He needs some fans in the stands.
That's what
it is. He needs to see this sea of green and white. He needs to hear us singing the Eagles song. It's
so it's safe to say, without the fans in the stands, you know, you kind of see players' true colors a little bit.
Well, he said it, folks. The opinions expressed by Mike. No.
I'm just saying.
So I'm feeling pretty good. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain.
I know that's right. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I got my Health Partners mask on.
I see. Mike is wearing a Health Partners Foundation mask, and it's making me very, very happy in the station today. So today we're going to be talking about education in the time of COVID-19. It's back to school, and you know what? It looks different. It feels different. Teachers and administrators, parents and students, we all got to come up with new ways and innovative ways to process education and get through this new school year. Even me, right? I don't have any young ones in school, but right now I have my nephew on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He's 11. He's in the 6th grade. And it's just different. He's in front of this laptop. He has to zoom in for this class and that class. And, you know, I'm just there to supervise him so he doesn't have to be home by himself. I'm helping, you know, my sister and my brother-in-law, and I'm happy to do it. So happy to do it. I don't know what he's doing in these classes. Just to be honest, I don't know. So I find myself trying to pay attention to what he's doing so that, or supposed to be doing, so that when class is over, I can help him if he has a question. I haven't really been able to do that much. It's okay, because I'm also at work. So it's just, it's interesting. It's interesting. So what we're going to be doing today is providing parents, educators, faculty. We're just going to be providing folks with some resources to get through this. Speaking of resources, the City of Philadelphia and the CDC has some excellent resources. So on Philly.gov, there's a whole list of resources for families and early childhood or early learning providers. I'm not going to give you the link because it's too long, but it is on the Health Partners Foundation Facebook page. The link is provided for you there, but it gives just a whole host of information, including activities that parents can do at home with their kids, how to get a free library card online, access to various learning activities, story time, also information about resources like food and housing and finances. Where can you find free nutritious food during this time? Support for folks, ladies who are pregnant, or for their babies and their toddlers. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that with one of our guests today. Help with housing, information for workers who are impacted by the virus. But there are also a couple of really good posts on the site where you can find pre-K centers to enroll your child. Also, affordable full-day child care while schools are closed. Because let's just face it, some parents, they're working and they don't want to leave their kids at home by themselves. So what are some of the resources that those parents can take advantage of? And that is also on the site, our Facebook site. Also, speaking of child care sites and pre-K centers, if you're out there and you're listening and you run a child care center or pre-K or some type of early learning environment for kids, if you send us a shout out on our Facebook page, or if you just reach out to me, I will provide your child care center with youth masks. use-size face masks, right? So they're while supplies last. We have a couple hundred, so it's on a first-come, first-served basis. But if you send me your information on our Facebook site, or if you send me an email, you can email me at scott@hpplans.com. Again, that's S as in Stacy, S as in Stacy, COTT at H as in Harold, P as in Paul, P as in Paul, L as in Larry, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, S as in Stacy.com, and we will make sure we get some of those right out to you. So let's jump right into, wait a minute, I wanted to tell you. So I told you about Philadelphia.gov. There's also another resource. The CDC has a complete checklist for parents, and I thought that that was awesome. Matter of fact, I printed that out today. It is also available on the Foundation Facebook site. But this is a checklist for parents. And so there's so many things on it. For example, how to set up an ideal learning environment for your youngster who's going to school virtually, how to plan for a successful year. But also, one of the things that I thought was key was just about how to be mindful of mental health and social, emotional well-being considerations and concerns during this time, because it's a stressful time. It's stressful for parents, it's stressful for teachers, but it's also stressful for our kids, right? In some instances, you know, the expectation for our young people to be their own little IT people, to suddenly have to upload their homework and download assignments and respond in the chat and email the teacher and log into office hours, it's a lot. And it can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me, and I do those kinds of things all the time, but now I'm watching my nephew do it. And can you imagine little kids in the 3rd grade having to do this, or the 4th grade or the 5th grade? And so it can be stressful and it can be overwhelming. So we really want to make sure that we take time to check in with our young people, see how they're doing. We want to watch out or just anticipate behavior, right, that might be signs that they're struggling with stress and or anxiety. We want to make sure that we're talking to our kids. How is school going? Right? How are the interactions with the classmates and the teachers? Speaking of interactions, so I'm telling you, I'm watching my nephew. His name is Miles, by the way. Shout out Miles Oliphant. And he goes, I can't remember, Stonehurst Elementary. No, I don't think he's in that school anymore. He's in 6th grade now. I'm not a great aunt. Anyway, so he's in class, and I noticed that one of the students was bullying another student via the chat, right? So one of the students was making fun of a classmate of his in the chat section, and I just was very surprised by it, but very impressed with how the teachers handled it and how other students handled it. But just to make the point that virtual learning comes with its own set of challenges. And so we want to make sure that we're checking in with our young people just to see how it's going. You know, sometimes we can ask these kids, how was school today? Good. What did you learn? Stuff, right? But
I was that type of student.
Was that you?
I was that type of kid.
Can I tell you, my mother did not tolerate that.
Yeah.
We had to have full sentences. She wanted to know, what were you doing today? What was the expectation?
That was my mom.
Listen.
And my grandmother.
Okay. So we just want to make sure we probe for clarity with our kids and just kind of, you know, check in, see how they're doing. Also check in with the school to see what kind of supports they have in place. But again, the CDC, they have an excellent checklist for parents. That link is also on the Health Partners Foundation Facebook page. Speaking of Facebook, Mike tells me that we are streaming live. Right, so I'm going to say, I'm giving a little wave, okay? I am probably the least technical or social media savvy person that you're going to talk to, so I'm not really sure how all of this works. I'm going to leave it to Mike.
There you go.
Mike is the super producer. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So we're going to jump right into it today, where we're talking about education in the time of COVID, and so we're going to be discussing resources that are available for our young ones, and we're going to be also talking to the director of a very special high school. But first up, we have Michael Smith. Michael is the executive director of Cradles to Crayon in Philadelphia. And so what is that organization? Well, that organization provides children living in poverty with basic essentials they need to thrive at home, at school, and at play. Cradles to Crayon connects communities with those individuals who are in need by engaging thousands of family, corporate, and community volunteers to collect, sort, and pack essential items like clothes, shoes, school supplies, books, toys, baby supplies for children from birth through age 12. And again, these are for young people that are living in vulnerable situations, perhaps homelessness or dealing with low-income situations. Under her leadership, Cradles to Crayons works to mitigate the effects of poverty by serving more than 300,000 children. I have to tell you, I didn't know that. I did not know that prior to having a conversation with her. 300 children across the greater Philadelphia region through a network of over 275 social service agencies, including homeless shelters, domestic violence centers, and foster care organizations, so that children and families can have the things that they need to survive and to thrive. So let's welcome Michael Smith to the show. Michael, are you there?
Yes, Stacey, thank you for that wonderful introduction of what we do. Thank you so much.
Oh, and thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm sure, first of all, can we just talk about your accent? Because I think you're from somewhere else. Where are you from, Michael?
I was originally from England, but if you were to speak to any of my relatives, they'd say I sound so American. So I apologize for both. I don't think I do either very well.
Well, you certainly do not have to apologize for your accent. I think it is lovely. See, that was a little bit of English for me. It was a lovely accent. How did you get here? How did you, cross the pond and come over here to America?
Well, I was actually sailing around the world, and I got off the boat, but ended up in Philadelphia because I didn't quite go around the world, and loved Philadelphia so much that I stayed. And eventually ended up working for this wonderful organization, Cradles to Crayons.
Well, wonderful. And we're so happy to have you here with us. So why don't you talk to us a little bit more about what your organization does? And I'm going to tell you, Cradles to Crayon is a staple in Philadelphia. I've heard of it for a long time. I was not aware of all the things that you did. I knew, for example, that you all are the go-to if someone needs a crib. That's what I've always heard, right? Mm-hmm. Call that organization. But what else do you do?
Well, it's an organization that is focused on kids living in poverty or homeless situations age 0 to 12. So we focus on that age group. And we, prior to COVID, collected gently used items from the community and using over 2,500 volunteers a month, sorted those items into custom packages. So our partners, those agencies you talked about, order online. We know the name of the child, whether they've got big feet, whether they're reading above or below grade, whether they like Spider-Man. And we will do our best using the volunteers and that gently used product to create a custom package which includes shoes, toys, books, very importantly, school supplies year-round, warm clothing in the winter, anything a child might need. So that will include diapers, it'll include wipes, includes all of the nursery items, including cribs. And the agency will get their package about 3 to 5 days later. And obviously we've had to change a little bit because we don't have volunteers, and we have to be very, very careful about donated products since COVID started.
Right.
So we're focusing a little bit more on some of that new product. And we've supplied over 1 million diapers since COVID started this year.
Oh, my goodness. That is amazing. That's really remarkable. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the community. Talk a little bit. I also have heard about something called the Big Give.
The Big Give was yesterday, and that is a region-wide collection, which is supported by our friends at PICO, where we collect clothing from people, thank goodness, who've so very kindly, since COVID started, been collecting it and saving it for us. And yesterday was a day when we devised a means of collecting products very, very safely throughout the region. We'll bring back to our warehouse in East Falls, and we will sort over the coming weeks so that kids have warm clothes, have shoes that fit. And actually, it was really, really funny yesterday. I was accepting some goods from a woman who brought us a lovely big bag of school supplies. And I said, it's really kind of you. I know school started. It's so nice of you to be thinking of our kids, because we know that normally when kids go to school, the teachers top up all of those school supplies. They buy products for kids who don't have it. And we know now that when kids are at home, when families have lost jobs, when there's financial challenges, we know that they still continue to need school supplies.
That's right.
And she said, I'm a teacher. I know that I used to spend lots of my money on school supplies, and so I wanted you to have this so that you can get it to kids who are still going to need this, whatever form learning takes.
Wow. You got to really love Philadelphia for stepping up, when the call goes out, right? We really are that city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, but thanks to organizations like yours that give us a vehicle to, get the goods to the folks who need it the most. What are the requirements? So, like, if I needed something, how are there eligibility requirements? How does it work?
Well, the easiest way is either you may be in contact already with an agency that's helping you, perhaps with housing, or perhaps with education, or perhaps with domestic violence. So your agency may be able to help you, or you can go on our website and enter your zip code and find an agency close to you that can help you.
That is wonderful. And so I also want to hear about this Ready for Learning. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that's the change that we've had to do because, as you know, and you've been talking about, children are now learning at home, and that presents its own challenges. So this year we worked hard and supplied almost 26,000 backpacks containing school supplies. And it was, as I was thinking about ordering this product, we thought, well, if kids are learning at home, do they really need the backpack? And then we realized, yes, children absolutely need the backpack. They need the backpack to keep those school supplies, those brand new school supplies together.
That's right.
We know that many families are having to double up at the moment, and they are perhaps not living where they had all their stuff before. And so it means that a kid can keep all of their products, their school supplies together. And so we've been buying that product, and we launched that in August. But now what we're working hard to do is to keep that topped up year-round, so kids can continue to order from us for school supplies. And we've added things like masks, and we're looking at adding earbuds because we know that kids break earbuds, and
yes.
They're going to continue to need those things as the school year goes on. And now we're also pivoting for clothing because we know that a kid wants to feel good in clothing, and they need those breaks from the computer. I mean, that sitting in front of a computer all day, they need to be able to have a pair of sneakers and perhaps a coat to run outside and just have a quick 10-minute break so they can go back to what is intense learning for them.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And then, so a couple things. One, I agree with you wholeheartedly about the need for the backpack. Again, I've been talking about my nephew, but he comes to my house twice a week now, and he brings all of his things in his backpack. And I think about other kids that are going to various locations, whether they're the educational access points that the city has set up,
yeah.
or if it's a child care facility for school-age kids, right? The kids aren't always learning at home from their home. Right, the virtual learning or the at-home learning is taking place all over the place because, as we know, when you're remote, you can be remote from anywhere, and so kids just like us have to move around in some instances. So I think that's doubly great that you're still providing that backpack for them. And so, how can people donate and support your organization?
Well, if you go onto our website, cradlestocrowns.org, you can there are lots of activities that you can do at home to help us by sorting and preparing clothing that can be dropped off, and school supplies, and in fact anything a child might need that can be dropped off at our East Falls warehouse. We have storage boxes that are unlocked there, so it's contact-free. You can be completely safe. And, of course, we always are now looking for brand new products. My goal this month is to try and get another tractor-trailer load of diapers, and of course that requires funding. So we're always looking for that little bit of help that anyone can give, because a little goes a long, long way at Cradles to Crayons.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the things I had said at the top of the show is that at the foundation we have adult masks and youth masks to give away. So if you would like a supply of youth masks, and they are brand new, we can certainly get those to you.
Oh, that would be wonderful. The learning kits that we're providing have masks. We're also looking at adding a toy or a game to the learning supplies, also to keep kids engaged when they're at home, because we know it's tough for adults, but it's really tough for kids, this COVID pandemic.
It really, really is. So that's easy. That's an easy lift. We can get those to you this week. And now when I was on your website, I saw something about these kid packs, right? It said for just $33, we'll provide one child with a complete kid pack full of head-to-toe essentials, clothing, shoes, a lightweight jacket, books, and a backpack full of new school supplies. So are you still looking for donations for the kid packs?
Absolutely. This is where we are really moving now to recognize that as the temperature drops in our region, I mean, I know we've had a few warm days, but the temperatures are going to drop. And so, and also kids don't stop growing. And so we want to make sure kids have the clothing, the books, the toys, but also we want to keep those school supplies topped up as well. And $33 is, because of the way we leverage everything that we do, we can make sure that a kid gets everything in that pack as you described for only $33.
I think that's awesome. And so what I'm going to do for you today, Michael Smith, I am going to commit to 100 of those kid packs for Cradles to Crayons. And so we will make sure.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
wow,
listen.
That's wonderful.
And it's such a small
Well,
thing.
I
But
thank you, and the kids, the 100 kids that we're going to serve. Thank you. Thank you so much.
oh, you are quite welcome. So I'll be in touch with your office and the numbers that they have listed here. Is it Molly? It says Molly Boyd here, but whoever, we'll figure that out. But absolutely.
Molly can handle it. Yes, always Molly can handle it.
Wonderful. So I'll reach out to Molly tomorrow, but we will make that happen. 100 kid packs. I'm going to also put a challenge out there to our listeners. If you're listening, if you can donate, anything helps. You heard what Michael was saying in terms of every dollar counts. And these are, kids from our region, kids that are dealing with some pretty challenging circumstances. So even though times are tight for all of us, let's see what we can do to help such a fine organization. The Health Partners Foundation, like I said, we're going to provide 100 kid packs. We're also going to donate youth masks to you, at least 100, probably more. And you know what? Let's throw in some sanitizer too. How about that?
That is fabulous, because we're adding that to the school supplies as well. So thank you so much. You have got the finger on the pulse for the needs that our kids have, and we're really, truly grateful for your support. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Michael, it's our pleasure to support you at the Health Partners Foundation. Our three tenets are education, food insecurity, and housing insecurity. And so we understand that there's some serious things that folks are dealing with. Our young people, as well as our community members and members of Health Partners plans as well. So we do what we can to support those needs in the community. We have programs and services that we offer in those areas, but we also try to support organizations that are also working in those areas, organizations like yours. And so before we wrap it up today, is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about Cradles to Crayons?
Well, I think I've just quickly like to say thank you so much for inviting me, but also everyone can do a little bit. It is communities coming together that help kids through our organization. And so just donating a pack of pencils at our remote drop-off makes a difference. It can be small, it can be large, but everything you do helps a kid get forward, gain an education, play, grow up, learn to be a kid, and thrive. And that's what we want. We want our young people to thrive.
Absolutely. And, speaking of Cradles to Crayons, I didn't realize that your organization was so big. I thought that this was a local thing, right? But apparently you're in other locations as well?
Yes, we started in Boston in 2002, came to Philadelphia in 2007, opened in Chicago in 2016, and have, because of COVID, opened virtually in New York this year as well. So we are looking to be able to help more kids. In Philadelphia this year, our goal is to help 100,000 children.
Wow.
And across the network, we're hoping to leverage that even more.
Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you something, Michael. One thing about the Health Partners Foundation and about me as well, once you're in, you're in. We consider you part of the family now, right? You are our partner. And if there's anything that we can do to support you, I want you to call me. You have my cell phone, and let's make it happen. This isn't just a one-and-done thing where we help with the backpacks. We want to make sure we have a relationship where we continue to provide support for your organization. Once, some of the pandemic concerns have lessened, if you're interested in volunteers, we have, close to 1,000 employees. We look for volunteer opportunities all the time. So if there's something that we can come out and do, let's talk about that. It's funny. I was looking at your website, and your color, your company colors are similar to ours. So I'm looking at your website, and I see all these purple shirts. And I'm like, we have purple shirts too. We can all stand together in our purple unity. So
that's right.
Yes,
yeah, you'll absolutely fit in, and we are accepting limited numbers of volunteers.
Okay.
We have shifts during the week, and we just started Saturday shifts, one a month. We can accept up to about 12 people,
okay,
compared to 120 people prior
Right.
to COVID. And everybody is socially distanced, and we keep everybody very, very safe. So you can come and help us, and we would welcome your help and support and look forward to us being a new community. So it would be great.
Absolutely. At Health Partners right now, our employees are still not volunteering yet. We're still at under a work from home order. But I can come out. I can come volunteer. So I'll reach out to you about that. It's so interesting. We were doing some research about organizations that we wanted to volunteer with during 2020, and then COVID hit. And so we're looking at virtual volunteering. So if you have any virtual volunteer opportunities, let us know that as well, because we may be able to help you with that. Maybe some phone calls or mailings, whatever we can do. We definitely want to be a partner for you. And so if someone wanted to get information about Cradles to Crayon, can you give them the number and the website?
The best way to do it is through the website, which is cradlestocrayons.org. And actually, as you talked about virtual volunteering, we have at least 9 ways that you can virtually volunteer with us, which are also listed on the website.
Wonderful.
So lots of things that can be done to help kids in our region.
Okay, and so what I will do is I'll include a link on our Facebook site for your information, but also I'll be reaching out to the employee base and letting them know that there's an opportunity for them to volunteer from home and to help your great organization. And you know what? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to give you a call in about a week or so. We have an event coming up virtually at the job, and maybe we can partner on it. So I'll let you know what that is as well. But, Michael, it's been so wonderful speaking with you. I'm so glad that you're here leading this great organization, and please continue to keep up the great work.
Thank you, Stacey. It was an honor to talk to you today, and thank you so much.
All right. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Enjoy the rest of Sunday. Bye-bye.
All right. So we just wrapped things up with Michael Smith. She is the executive director of Cradles to Crayons, the Philadelphia branch, and it is an amazing organization. She said their goal is to service 100,000 kids this year, and these are kids in our region, kids that need us the most. And so let's do what we can to support her. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to come back with Amarina Alea, who is the Director of Education for CBCS. You're listening to In the Community with Stacey Scott on WURD Radio, Black Talk Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, and we'll be right back. Mm-hmm.
In the Community
with Stacy Scott.
Presented by Health Partners Foundation. Right now on Word Radio
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WordRadio.com.
And we are back. If you're just tuning in, we just wrapped up a conversation with Michael Smith, Executive Director of Cradles to Crayons. And I have to say, I mean, it's a great organization. I'm so proud that from a foundation perspective, we are able to support this organization. Some of the things that she mentioned, they've already given out over 1 million diapers to families in crisis in our region. They're doing so much to help vulnerable kids, and so we want to do all we can to support them as well. For more information, check them out at cradlestocrayons.org. Next up, we are going to be talking about a pretty phenomenal school located right here in our region, a school that you probably haven't heard of, and that school is Competency-Based Community School, or as they call it, CBCS. And so our guest today is going to be Amarina Alea. She is the Director of Education at this fabulous school. But let me tell you a little bit about her. Like many of the students at CB Community School, she started life in the foster care system. While she didn't have to change foster homes, she was adopted by her foster family, and her transracial adoption, it shaped many of her views on life, on race, and on social justice. And Marina attended Rider University on a full Division I basketball scholarship. We're going to have to talk about that. And began her teaching career in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. She moved to Philadelphia, where she raised her 2 college-age sons, both who are graduates of the Philadelphia public school system. She's been an educator for the past 25 years, and she's worked for 11 years in the Philadelphia public, private, and charter schools. Currently, as I mentioned, she is the education director at CB Community School in Philadelphia. Here's the thing about CBCS. It is a small high school. It's a private high school for students who are currently or were formerly involved in the child welfare system, particularly the and as foster students. She was recently married. Congratulations. She lives in Lansdowne with her husband and his 2 sons and several 4-legged rescues. Let's welcome Amarina to the show. Amarina, you there?
Hi, Stacy. I'm here.
Hey, lady. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, listen, it is absolutely my pleasure. I've known you for a little bit now. I did not know that you were in the foster care system as well.
I was, and it's interesting. In my office at the school, I have up a picture of me and my 2 foster brothers all together, and the kids always come in and ask who they are, and I tell them, I said, those are my foster brothers. 2 of us were adopted, and one, Donnie, my very first memory at age 2 was when he was removed from our home, placed somewhere else. And I think that was what spurred my foster mom to adopt us. She realized, that kids could move and did move. And so she went ahead and adopted my brother Douglas and I. So we were very, very lucky. As you know, not all of our students at CB are as lucky. Many of them have been in, 10, 12 different foster homes in their life. So I do count myself as one of the very, very lucky ones.
Right. And you know what? One of these days, you and I will have to, over a cup of tea or something, compare our foster stories. I, too, was in foster care from the time I was born till I was 4, close to 4.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, my foster mother attempted to adopt me, and it was at that time that my mom was able to come back and get me. But following my departure from her home, she went on to adopt all the other foster kids that she had, about 4 or 5 of them, because she said the same thing, right? She had me since I was born, days after I was born, and so me leaving, was difficult for her, was painful for her, for me too, but
I think it's the whole situation.
Absolutely.
She said that she was the only one that I ever called mom, and the idea that somebody else would now, I'd have to transition, that was just too heartbreaking for her to imagine. So
right. So we'll have to, we'll maybe that'll be another show. Maybe during National Foster Care Month, I'll have you back on, and we can talk about it. But let's talk a little bit about CBCS. And so, where is this school located?
So our school is located in Manayunk in Philadelphia. We're in Mishkan Shalom, and it's a synagogue up there on Freeland.
Okay.
And so it's this small, beautiful, peaceful, calm, loving community school, unlike anything I've seen in all my years of teaching. Wow.
And so this is a private high school, is that right?
It is private, but we don't charge our students tuition. So they do get to come to us tuition free.
I need you to say that again. What did you just say?
We do not charge tuition for our students. They come to us tuition free.
Wow.
So the students who come into our school, we're very, very small. We only have between 60 and 65 students at any one time. So the students are able to get the absolute individualized attention that they need and deserve, actually that all young people need and deserve. So it's pretty unique. The one thing I know as an educator is that you always value and prize your relationships with your students over anything else, because students won't learn from someone they don't have a relationship that they don't have a relationship with. And in our school, we're centered on relationship. We actually go as far to say that we're centered in love. So not something
wonderful.
you hear every day in the education world.
That's wonderful. I think it was Frederick Douglass who said you cannot teach those whom you don't love. And so I think it's so remarkable what you're doing over at CBCS. The fact that it's a private school and that the kids don't have to pay tuition is amazing. Where does the funding come from?
Well, a lot of our funding comes from private donations. We do get a sizable amount from DHS, but most of it is private funds. It's kind of a scramble year to year. We've been open for 5 years, and every year we're doing like a pulse check on, where are we financially and can we stay open for these students, because they do need the services and education that we provide.
Wow. And so what I'm hearing from you is that these are kids in our region from the Philadelphia area, but the school receives no funding from the school district of Philadelphia. Is that correct?
Zero funding from the school district of Philadelphia. Even though these are all students of Philadelphia, children, they live in Philadelphia. We receive their transcripts from Philadelphia public and charter schools, but the funding does not follow them.
Well, we are going to have to draw some more attention to that fact, and we need to put some pressure on the school district to make sure that they're providing some funding for these kids. These are Philly kids, and they need to have that support, and certainly the school needs it as well. And
Definitely. I mean, 70% of our students are special ed students as well. Some of them come to us with labels. They've been mislabeled, because schools do get more money for children who have IEP. But, it is one of our biggest challenges. We see the results that we get. We see the impact we have on these kids' lives. And yet the district, who is ultimately responsible for their education, seems to ignore that.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to have to bring some attention to that. And so let's talk about the school, because you guys are open. Is that right?
We have been open pretty much every day of the pandemic. Yeah, we are. We are currently open now. We opened under a hybrid model where we cohorted the students into AM and PM cohorts. Okay. And so we have only about 10 to 12 students in the building on one day, and that's half in the morning, half in the afternoon.
Okay.
So students get 2 days of in-person instruction and 3 days of virtual instruction.
Okay. 2 days in person, 2 days virtual. And how are the kids doing with that arrangement?
I'm really happy to say they've been doing really well. I mean, in the spring, when everything closed and the panic hit, I know that schools everywhere were really struggling to keep up their student engagement, and we did too. But within a week, everybody had computers, and we transitioned fully online. We were online weeks before the district. And this fall, we found that we were able to maintain a 75% engagement level so far this year. So that was pretty good. Not good enough. Our goal is always 85, but we're working on that.
Tell me what that means when you say 75% engagement level. What does that look like?
So we count engagement as interacting with your teacher about the instruction.
Okay.
So if a student is logging in for live classes and participating, if a student is doing work and checking in with the teacher. So we're a little more flexible on engagement than the district. The district actually wants you to just complete work. And we know that sometimes work can take longer than the day-to-day. So if the student has their teacher for 4 days a week, we expect them to interact with their teacher about the material 4 days a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they do. 75% of them do.
That is awesome. So not a lot of people know or understand what competency-based education is. Can you talk to us a little bit about that model and how it works at CBCS?
Sure. Competency-based means that you basically get credit based on the skills that you are able to demonstrate that you have mastered. So a competency is basically a big bucket of skills, and benchmarks are like little rocks that you would use to fill that bucket, right? So if your competency has to do with argument writing, there's all these little skills you need to learn and master to become competent at argument writing. Okay. So students come in, they learn their skills, and then when they get 80% of their bucket filled, they're competent. 90% is highly competent. And those roughly translate to a B and an A. We don't award any credit for students who get below that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have pretty high academic standards that way.
That is excellent. And so how do the students feel? How have you heard from any students in terms of, or can you speak to us about their comments on the school? I would imagine it with such a high engagement level that they must like it, right?
They do. It's interesting because a lot of our students refer to CB as their home. When you're in the child welfare system, stability is not exactly a part of your life. You change homes, you change locations, right. And every time you do that, you change schools. So we are the one consistent force in their life, and so they come in. We have to kind of keep them. We try to, with our virtual days, we tell them, you can do this at home, and we never shut our doors to anybody. So we do have a little learning center. The kids can come in and work in the community room and work in teachers' classrooms. We try really hard during the pandemic, of course, to limit the number of students in the building. Right. But they really want to be there. They want to see their teachers. Students know when they're wanted in a place.
You know what? It makes a difference. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this as a former foster, that when you're in foster care, there's a sense sometimes that nothing is yours, right? You're in somebody else's house, somebody else's room, playing with someone else's toys, interacting with someone else's mother, right? Someone else's brother or sister or whatever. And there is a sense that something is not yours. So ownership becomes really, really important when you are in the foster care system. And what I've seen, because total transparency, audience, I am on the board of this school, so I do know a little bit about it. Just that there's a sense of ownership that this is my school and I can go there. Right, I can go there and I know that I'm going to be welcomed. I know that I'm going to be respected and valued and heard. Because one of the things that I really love about the school is that it's not just a place for academic learning, right? And so the faculty and staff really work hard to advocate for the students for whatever they need. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. Our students love walking into our building. They're greeted, every time they walk in by name, although we don't do the hugging like we used to do.
Right.
Because of COVID, we found a lot of ways to connect with them. And, our students come and go from our school, right? We have students who experience the criminal justice system, students who deal with pregnancy, students who deal with chronic illness. And it's never, because we're competency-based, the students know that if they do have to take time away from school, when they come back, it's not like a traditional school where, you failed the first quarter and that's it. You have to start over. They come and they pick up their bucket of benchmarks and they just continue with where they are. They don't ever lose ground. So we never actually have, students don't fail at our school. That concept doesn't exist for us. They're always just not yet. And I think that students know that they're walking into a loving environment that is welcoming to them, warts and all, and that they're just going to be able to pick up with where they left off. And there's something about removing that, the kids come to us with educational trauma, and
right.
We do our very, very best to sort of mitigate that because they're used to the academic environment being a place where they fail, where they're the troubled kid, where they have all kinds of issues, and we don't view our kids that way. We see them as more than what happened to them. We see them as, people with, burgeoning agency,
That's right.
So I think
and very resilient. Our kids are very resilient.
Yeah.
Most kids are, but I find that our kids are very resilient dealing with not just a foster care system, but the juvenile justice system. Sometimes their parents themselves, undereducated, or a lot of our kids have some missing years of school, which I only learned about, through my work with the organization. But I want to share a quick story with you. So I knew you were going to be a guest on the show today, so I reached out to one of our alumni students, Naki Lampkins, and I told him I was going to be on the show. He actually already knew, okay, because he told me he saw it on the school website. So, yes, he does go back and check. And I told him I'm going to get him on one of these days in the future, but I asked him to just talk to me and share his thoughts about the school. And so I want to share them with you as well as our audience. And so Naki, he graduated in 2019. And I asked him, I said, well, tell me what you like about this school. He said, I'm going to tell you what I love about the school. I said, oh, okay, tell me what you love about the school. He said that there's a lot of hands-on involvement with the students because it's such a small school. He said it's easy for kids to get the individualized help that they need. He likes that it was a flexible schedule and that people could move at their own pace. So if they were more comfortable with certain things, they could move along faster, or if they needed help, that was okay too. He did mention that advocating for him and the other students for things like housing and jobs and food and health care. He talked about the school helping with potential jobs at the school, but also jobs for students while they were in school and once they graduated. And I thought that was just an amazing testament. You guys got to grab him and use him for some marketing or something for the school. Turns out that he'll be starting CCP in October, majoring in psychology. Right now he's working for this school district, and I asked him, he plans to, when he graduates from CCP, to go to Temple. And I said, well, what do you want to do with your life, Naki? He said he wants to be a child psychologist because he believes he can relate to kids' experiences based on his experience in the foster care system. And he also asked me to tell you something specifically. he has an idea for an alumni program where he and other graduates who've been able to be successful or have a plan come back and help some of their classmates that might still be struggling a little bit in that area, but to be a support group and to kind of provide some resources and some help. And I told him that I would pass that on to you today. I think it's an amazing idea. I'll help in that way, too. But that just speaks to the kinds of students that we have at the school. So I thought that was
amazing.
awesome.
Neki is such an amazing young man. So that's, I actually even taught him before I was education director.
He told me.
I know.
No, he only had great things to say. He only had great things to say about you.
And it's interesting because we do see him around the school. I mean, when I say that we are love in action, when I say love, one of our teachers took him out to practice driving and to get his driver's test. I mean, it's this level of interaction and love that the kids expect and get from us that make it so unique. And, Naki stops by the school at least once a week. We get to see him and celebrate him and love him up.
Yes, he's such a success story. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I'm going to have you on the show again, Ann Marino, so we can, learn more about the school. If people want to learn more and or support, what should they do? How do they get in contact?
Oh, please go to our website, cbcommunityschools, all one word, .org. If we want to help the students that we serve, funding is always an issue. Plus, we do take donations. During the pandemic, we've had our CB Community Cupboard open where we do provide diapers, food staples, things like that for students who are struggling or suffering from joblessness during the pandemic. About a quarter of our graduates are parents themselves. So, we stay in touch with them and try to get them everything they need. We are a holistic school. We teach the whole child in their whole life. So
fabulous.
Anything that people can do to help our students is very appreciated.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ann Marina. You know that I really value you and the work that you do and that everybody does at the school. We will talk again soon, but thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you for having me on today, Stacy.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. Well, that hour goes by so quickly. So happy that you could share it with us today, share a portion of your Sunday with us. Today, we learned about some resources for parents and families. Those resources or links to those resources are available on the Health Partners Foundation Facebook page. Also, as always, before I wrap things up, I just want to share a passage with you that says, "Beloved, I pray that in all things you continue to prosper and enjoy good health, just as you are now prospering." Listen, be kind to one another, and I will talk to you next month. Take care.